this in 5 minutes.
Welcome to Your Real Stories. Welcome to Story Days in Tampa Bay, and welcome to COVID Stories, Poetry, and Motion. I am co-founder. Hey, I was just going to say I'm the co-founder and artistic director, Jay Sheldon, and Lillian.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lillian Dunlap. I'm the founding executive director of Your Real Stories and Story Days in Tampa Bay.
And I can't see anybody in the chat yet, but I'm sure that that'll work out later. I can't see everybody that's here. Oh, hey. Yeah, so for those of you that are watching along with us, this is the part of the cast that you're going to see this evening. And we're doing this in this order because we're so excited that to be back. We missed Story Days last year. And I can't even begin to tell you how grateful that we are that these wonderful co-collaborators came and spent several days doing a film shoot with us. And in the past, you've seen us collaborate with artists and dancers and poets and musicians. And we're adding to the actual collaboration, not just the documentation. We're adding Priscilla Wyatt, videographer, and Sam Bumberg, video and photography, both of them. And we'll tell you more later, but we're just so happy to have everyone here. And we are, I'm so flabbergasted. I haven't been on stage in a really long time.
For a long time. I'm just glad to be out of the fog of COVID, and these stories that we're going to be telling really talk about what that fog that COVID has created, and how we've just kind of created through it. So these will be good.
I'd like to take just a moment at the top of the show to thank the people that are making this show possible. First and foremost, all of our collaborators, but also this is made possible through generous funding from, I lost my slide. I had a cheat sheet. Hang on just a moment. I'm ready. I just don't want to trip up on anyone's name. Tonight is brought to us through a generous grant from the Florida Humanities Council with funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities. And we're very grateful for this special programming grant and opportunity to bring you this show tonight. We are also operationally funded by Culture Builds Florida and by an arts and culture grant from the city of St. Petersburg. I also want to say a special shout out to our venue partners for tonight. We have a gallery and studio at the Arts Exchange, and you'll see that we shot on location there, but we also borrowed locations from the studio at 620. We always shout out and thank the studio because they helped us get started 10 years ago. Yes. And we also, you'll see a little piece of American Stage Theater in the video tonight. So we're thankful to all of them. On that note, I just want to mark, we're all in this fog, and I know that a lot of people have missed birthdays and anniversaries and all sorts of momentous occasions. And it just occurred to me this morning that we missed the 10th anniversary of our first theatrical journalism performance. It was in November. So I just wanted to make sure. So I want to thank everyone, all of those whose shoulders we stand on, former and present staff members, board members, people that helped us found the organization, and partners and sponsors throughout the decade. So thanks. So now let's tell you what we are about to see. Well, while you get to look at everyone's beautiful faces, I actually really like this. When we go back to live, let's all go on stage together. This is great. So tonight, what you're about to see, this is our miniature Story Days in Tampa Bay. We missed Story Days in Tampa Bay 2020 because of COVID restrictions and keeping everyone safe. We have been interviewing and doing all sorts of great things that we'll continue to tell you about in the new year. But we have not done anything in person. So if you're a fan of Story Days, there are 3 main shows that we've sort of smushed together to bring you this evening. So we have our traditional model, which actually we turned into, instead of interviewing to script, we actually, you'll see some video interviews tonight, which you don't usually get to see from us. So our opening night event, our main event, and also Stories, Poetry, and Motion, which is usually our Thursday night event of Story Days, which involves poets and dancers. We've been doing it at the Museum of Fine Arts for 6 years, I think, 5 or 6. And this year it's virtual. So instead of being in the museum, we're on film. And I just can't wait for you to see it, because the collaboration with film and photographers gave us an opportunity to tell these stories in another way. And also, just I'm so high on the collaboration. Your Real Stories, first and foremost, is about talking across difference. And if you want to make anything, no matter what that thing is, anything of any quality, you need as many perspectives around the table as possible. And all of the people around the table have to have equity in voice and being able to contribute to that product. And so I couldn't be happier. We all made decisions collectively. And I feel like the creativity that happened in this project is one of my most favorites. So thank you. All right, Lil, does anybody else have anything to say before we get started?
Oh, I'm so eager to see these collaborations, as if I haven't seen them already, but I'm eager to see them and share them, because really, we've done a number of things in Your Real Stories, but what we always come back to, what we always stay close to, is the idea of creating something that we can all enjoy communally, and then talk about it, and then talk about our own experiences of it, and see the wonderful connections that we make just by being the wonderful human beings that we individually and collectively are. So I'm very excited about anything new that you will see tonight, and also excited about the responses from people. So I'm ready to go.
I guess I want to make sure I didn't bury the lead. So what you're going to see is a new kind of stories, poetry, and motion. And usually, if you're familiar with the work that we do, we interview people out in the community, and then we script their stories, and then we call actors and dancers and musicians to collaborate with us. But because it has been 20 months since we've been together, it was really important for us to connect and realize that artists are also people who have been impacted by COVID-19 and so many other things that we've been experiencing over the last 20 months. And so we took the time to actually turn the camera on the artists and to interview and to talk and to collaborate. And that's what you're going to see this evening. Combination of interviews and performance, all interspersed together. I think it.
There's an informalness yet of formalness and respect, because we're doing interviews in people's living rooms. It has opened the door to being able to see each other on a more intimate level, but yet still honor each other in respectfulness. But I also think through this time, we all have been itching to create, because we have been in our little, in our little boxes. Yeah. And what beautifulness has come out of these last 20 months, I mean, even having this experience of sitting and doing this and making this project, and we're here and we're there and we're talking and we're dancing,
And you're
has
moving furniture.
right. I mean, we're doing it all, but I mean, that's the beauty of we have been doing kind of every year it's grown, and yet this year when we had 20 months of pretty much not meeting, it's grown exponentially in such a beautiful way. So I really do think that these 20 months, the artists have been simmering. They've been simmering, and the energy just we want to tell our stories.
Pandemic vocabulary. Stay home. Be well. Stay safe. Shelter in place. Stay home. Please. Stay home. Stay healthy. Self-quarantine. Is it Monday? Quarantine life, social distance, symptoms, asymptomatic, wash your hands, remember your gloves, remember, don't forget your face mask, sanitize, wipe, bleach, spray. New normal? Diagnosed, infected, how many? How many cases? Spread, rise, spike, peak, spread, rise, spike, peak. Death toll. I miss. Need more. Shortage. Not enough tests, ventilators, masks, goggles, supply chains. At risk. Endangered frontline. Strain. Critically affected. Shut down, lockdown, essential, non-essential, essential, non-essential, essential. Limited hours. Contactless. Cancel. Postpone. Avoid. Remotely. Please stand 6 feet apart. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, nurses. Thank you, doctors. Thank you, farm workers. Thank you, cleaners. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, immigrants. Thank you, cashiers. Thank you, stalkers. Thank you, baggers. Thank you, bodega. Thank you, artists. Thank you, bookstores. Thank you, mail carriers. Thank you, journalists. Thank you, coroners. Thank you, instant shoppers. Thank you, grant writers. Thank you, givers. Thank you, nonprofits. Thank you, transit workers. Thank you, food pantry. Thank you, mask makers. Thank you, thank you, thank you, masks. What day is it? Can we Zoom? Did you see this meme? Or what about this one? Up for a FaceTime happy hour, please? I miss. Should I get TikTok? Let's have a Netflix party. Quarantine kitchen. Hashtag pass the brush. I'm making sourdough. Anxiety, baking, anxiety, crafting, anxiety, push-up challenge. Despite everything, please be well. Hang in there. Just checking in. I hope you're well. Considering these unprecedented circumstances, these trying circumstances, we'll get through this together, right? Take care. Virtually yours. Finding a routine, hand washing, in solidarity. In light of stay healthy before times when this is over. My God, the news. I can't wait. I'm here. Now, more than ever. Uncharted waters. These difficult times, these trying times, these dizzying times, these scary times, these sad, sad, sad times. What day is it? We'll get through it. I miss. 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 I miss.
So the poem is called Pandemic Vocabulary, and it came about from reading email signatures that felt panicked, a little bit contrived and just put together right as a pandemic hit here, as the United States began to shut down, as the world had already started shutting down, and seeing how people were signing off to each other in these ways that were meant to carry hope, but for me just really stood out as like a vocabulary that's very unique to this time, to this incident, to this, sort of seismic shift in the day-to-day reality of our lives. It was a thing that we're all thinking about all the time, even when we're signing off an email, to the point that best or sincerely or more soon didn't cut it. We needed, these unprecedented times or these trying times or hand washing in solidarity, where people sort of use these taglines to spread hope, maybe for others and maybe for themselves. And that's where it came from. And then it just built from like humans. We're the one thing we do is change. That's the one thing we do really well, or that we should be able to do really well over and over and over again. And with that comes language and rhetoric and what we think and how we put words together. I think changes our history. It changes who we are. And this, clearly this time period is going to change how we operate. And I think there will be some things that stay. And I think there will be obviously things that will hopefully transition out of as well.
When the pandemic first started, I remember being in like panic mode, and it seemed like everyone had a blanket of fear. And so I became very fearful, and I was washing my hands like crazy and not wanting to touch everything. And it started to feel like it was becoming like an obsessive compulsive thing. I think comparing now to then, I would say that I have really made it a point to let go of that fear. I realized I couldn't live a life in panic mode. I couldn't put my nervous system in this state of constant, like, you're too close. I didn't wash my hands and I just touched that bag of chips and put back, chips in my mouth. I mean, these little subtleties that we take for granted in our lives.
Tired. First of all, I just graduated from grad school, so I had 3 years of that. I was coming out on the other side of what I would call my midlife crisis. Graduating with, and then into a pandemic. I literally graduated into a world with no jobs in my field, being a writer director. And that was surreal. You couldn't have paid me any amount of money to believe that I would ever experience that. Not even myself, but the world would ever experience that. Like, to graduate into a world with absolutely zero jobs available was dumbfounding. It was scary. I had to leave LA because I couldn't afford to live in LA, and I came back to Florida and I graduated online.
Thinking of the people far away, a lot of my family's in Colombia, so thinking about like all of my extended family and how our timeline in terms of vaccines was very different than their timeline in terms of vaccines. It just really, it connected us, but it also very much showed the social divide, the just division of care and how we prioritize people. That all became very, very, very evident throughout the pandemic for me, and I think for a lot of people as well.
When I was in the hospital with pneumonia, I was fighting. But at the same time, I was getting all this information about people dying around me. My father had already passed away. My brother-in-law had passed away at Saturday. And then my brother passed away the following day. And my wife was FaceTiming me with all this grief, and I'm the one who had to make the decision for my brother, to pull the ventilator while I was in the hospital. And so, but during, as horrific as that may sound, as horrific as it was, it's hard to explain. During that time, I never felt stronger. I never had more clarity in my entire life. It was the oddest thing. It was the oddest thing. So I did that, came out of the hospital, had to plan, double funeral services for my brother and my dad, and then the next week head out of town for my brother-in-law. Incredible clarity, I was not crumbled. I wasn't faltering at all, at my strongest point. But what I realize now, I was probably at my weakest point. Because now, when I'm more normal, I feel strong, I'm probably at my weakest point.
Some days, the most honest thing that I can do for myself is to listen to the sound of my heart beating. In the morning, right before I wake, right before reality seeps its way through to remind me of this thing called surviving, there is a brief moment before I open my eyes, when the only sound I hear is the soft snore of my puppy, peaceful at the edge of my bed, and the loud, persistent comfort of my beating heart. I wonder, is this what freedom sounds like? I watch young white boys get their driver's permits like awards that celebrate the mediocrity they will shine on for the rest of their lives. Tongues carved in colonial tradition, learning only ignorance as second language, speaking of the legality of a back door while lining the gates at the front with guns aimed at black and brown children. This country is not a nation of immigrants. It is a land that was imagined on the genocide of native humans, built on the backs of slaves, and devised to hold the heads of minorities underwater while still forcing us to breathe. The life of an immigrant woman is not for the faint-hearted. It requires years of practice walking on eggshells around your own existence, testing the pain tolerance of your own skin, looking around your own home to see if anyone's watching when you kiss your lover, watching over your shoulder when dancing at a nightclub, hoping that you don't accidentally speak your beloved first language at an airport. I wonder if I'll ever hear my heartbeat without trying. Perhaps this is what freedom sounds like. Millions of hearts across the world beating harder every day. I wonder if this is why mothers of dead children cradle their heads to their chest, so the last thing their souls will hear is a steady beat of a mother's heart over the deafening sound of a racist bullet. I wonder if the founding fathers held their palms over their hearts when taking the Pledge of Allegiance to drown out the humanity of their heartbeats. I wonder if the founding fathers held their palms over their hearts when taking the Pledge of Allegiance to drown out the humanity of their heartbeats. I wonder if faith leaders rely on their heartbeat to give them rhythm when reciting prayer so they can drown out the sound of hate. I know that my heartbeat gets louder with every line of this poem because my word is my everything. I know that an activist speaks from their heart no matter how afraid their mind is. I know that no wall can keep our community away from us as long as our hearts are beating. I wonder if freedom will ever be our first language. I know this fight won't end in my lifetime. This legacy has outgrown its roots, but decades from now, when this country elects to its highest office, a queer, transgender, hijabi Muslim woman of color who came to this country undocumented, ran her whole campaign on her history of being a sex worker, partnered with a gender non-conforming woman of color who raises pit bulls as children, I know then, we will hear the future of their heartbeats beating loud and clear, sounding well over the history of white supremacist patriarchy, and none of us will ever forget where we came from. I have not created since 2018, right? It is only recently that I've come up with something that I want to create. I curate my creations. I'm very particular about how I do them. There's a long process that goes into it because a lot of what I write about, the reason why I'm able to write the way I'm able to write is because I process so much. And that can be, like I love what I do. I'm good at what I do, but I don't necessarily always enjoy it, right? It can be a very traumatic process. And so I have to schedule my breakdowns and schedule my processes and so on and so forth. And these last 3 years really haven't allowed for much of that. So I haven't created anything per se, but I've curated and I have done performances for different audiences with the work that I've already had. That said, I'm coming up with a new production and I'm very, very excited about that. It is time. I am feeling it. I want to share this piece of myself with the world. And so hopefully by the end of this month, the first piece of it will see fruition.
I give you myself, whole and incomplete, devastated and journeyed, all of me. Black oil, coal, mineral earth me. Blood-stained, Batons soak ancestral grounds. It is a staff of the wicked forced into hands of peace. Condition my brothers to betray me. Comply. Echoes deep. My will is of light. I cannot comply, I speak. And the warrior rises in me. It is my dance. Rhythmically pounding out protest, no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. And the beat drum grows, coded cross continents through me. Whack! Is the hand on the smooth djembe. Whack! Goes the hand my adversary lays. This ain't the tutelage of the mother. Black, brown bodies hanged for all to see. I can't breathe. Yet, I still give you me. Fertile earth. I am dirt, dark, damp, nutrient-rich me. I cannot return to a foreign land. I must stand my ground. This bloodied America is my people's land. And the weapons you have formed against me systemically shall not prosper. My body draggled over concrete jungles, munders over slain slaves shot systematically, and the tribes fall. Numb to my blackness, trapped in time space continuum, Afro punk futurism. I am the quantum state of self, unbeknownst to my very existence, forgotten, prepared, strangled. And you chose not to hear me, begging you still. I'll give you me. Cacao tree, cocoa butter, bitter chocolate, black sand me. I am rage. Politely excusing self during service. In supplication, hands up. And the beat drum grows and the chaos festers. Chickens have come home to roost. And the time has come and manifested a ripened moment of change. The war has been waged. But remember, I tried to give you me. Universe. Black sapphire, chocolate diamond, ebony, black sea, me. Reading this poem again, and I've read it before today, like I've performed it twice, but something about today and I think where I am tells me that I was feeling something during 2020, but in the moment of 2020 I was just numb. You know, we were angry, but I don't think we were surprised. And when I say we, I mean Black Americans, Black people. This wasn't the first, the second, or the third time something this heinous has happened to us. This was the first time in a very long time, because the world was forced to be still, that everybody had the opportunity to be impacted by this. And I think that's what was different. It wasn't the act. the act was heinous and known to us in a very intimate way. And so for me, honestly, it was like I woke up, they killed another black person. Damn. Okay, well, let me go to the store and get these canned goods, and because we're gonna shut down, and we're shut down, and this is the only time I can leave the house, and it was sad. I was sad at myself. I wasn't mad, I wasn't angry at me. It was just sad because I was accustomed to this behavior in the world. And that's sad. And so I was hurt. Now that I can look back on it, I was hurt. Because I was not enough. Me just being Erica in my brown skin was not enough to be loved in this world, to be liked, to be respected, to be appreciated. That Erica in her brown skin at any moment, at any second in her day could die simply because she is Erica in her brown skin. And that sucks. I still feel that way today. It still sucks. It still can happen. Nothing has changed in that way right now. So 2020 changed me in that way. I think 2021, I'm now processing it. So I am emotionally involved this year. I knew that the protesting wasn't my protest. I knew that the art, the creation of the art was my protest. I'm a different person. I don't have a lot of time anymore for frivolous things. I don't have a lot of time anymore for people that are not for me or that do not enrich my life. I think the pandemic taught us that time is precious and valuable, and we cannot waste it. Life is short. It's fleeting. But it's so beautiful at the same time. So I try to exist in the beauty of life. And that is my answer.
As the piece stated, it's a journey, and some of the journey was devastating. Some of the journey was enlightening in the aspect that sometimes when you feel like you can't go forward, there's a higher power that is helping you to move forward. And I know that through faith, and especially when she says systematically, no weapon formed against me, because there's so many things between death and racism and loss that people don't always process, that can pull you down, but to give yourself also resilience to push forward.
I guess in parts, the last 20 months, has changed me as an artist, but it's probably changed me more as a person, right? So if we change as people, then I would have to think that our art would change as well. How the pandemic has impacted me has been the fact that I'm much more deliberate. I'm a better listener. I'm a lot more introspective in what I say and what I do, and I think by extension how I see as well. I think it's definitely made me more decisive. I think I got more confidence now, even so. Even as long as I've been doing this for over 30-something years, I feel like there's not any situation that I walk into that I can't make a compelling frame, period. And I think just slowing down helps you to do that, because, once you realize that, we only get one shot at this life, and that it is fleeting, and that things that you love can be taken away from you like that, having a burst of creativity in the moment is a gift.
I've changed a lot. Like I mean, everything from just being at home, being hyper concerned. I mean, we were at the beginning like intensely cleaning everything. We have a toddler who's still not old enough for a vaccine. So, this sort of heightened sense of care and of, okay, let's re-examine, like, what do we do in our days? Prioritizing time, prioritizing people, being outside. We live, fortunately, in a really beautiful place, and just being outside more and that being enough, like not needing to, stack a day. I was thinking before this, my gosh, the amount of stuff we would like jam into a day, and then like a night, I was like, oh, tonight we're gonna do these 3 things, like out. Like, so like why? Like, I was not like an international spy or anything before the pandemic. I was just like out and about.
It's changed me both as a person and an artist, especially with loss and time, because you always think you have time for things, and you'll say, oh, I'll meet you next week, or let's get together, and then you don't get together. So now I am at the point, well, let's make a date. Let's not say we're just gonna do it, but let's actually do it. We hold on to each other tighter. We respect each other more, not just ourselves, but the people that we are with. And we treasure time so much more. Faith, definitely our faith and meditation has gotten us through. Definitely. We know that God has pushed us through to so many different stages and said, I'm walking with you, I will get you through this. And it didn't say there wasn't going to be any pain, because we know life has pains in it, and we know that it has hurdles, but that fact that you can still get through the hurdles.
Breathe, like now, breathe. Meditate, take pictures, slow down, and embrace it. Just embrace it. Embrace it all, right? Because it passes, right? It fills you up, but it passes at the same time.
I'm definitely an artist at heart, and when I am not doing my art, I kind of fall apart. So I think taking that time for creative endeavors, taking the time to connect with people, because I feel like during the pandemic, boy, did I feel completely isolated. So I think just really connecting with people, being present, giving hugs, just laughing, sharing moments. I think that's what helps me become more grounded.
Hand-to-hand combat, that's very important to me, so I train in that. I spend quality time with the people that I care about deeply, mostly the young humans that I work with. They are my cup fillers, and they don't even have to do anything. I just love being in their presence because they're such wonderful, wonderful human beings. Sherlock and I hike a lot. I know we're in Florida, but there are some trails, and we hike those trails regularly. We love being outside and doing the thing. So yeah, I have about 5-6 different coping mechanisms and strategies for self-care.
I said personally that I turned to the theater. It was significant for me that in these past 20 months, I remember the National Theater making a couple of performances available for free virtually, and it was because of everything that was happening, and I was grateful. I had not really seen a performance from the National Theater, and they actually filmed it where it was pretty wonderful. Of course, I'd always heard of their work. I'd never been across the pond, so that I took advantage of that, and I realized that was pretty important for me. So I was grateful for that. But again, I feel nervous about answering that because you think, how did you care for yourself? You think my answer would be a little bit more, I don't know, not as, I don't know, as superficial maybe, but I did. And that's maybe, it shows me the importance of this craft, I think, to my life.
Honestly, I'm so terrible at it. I'm working on it. I think for me, I think just finding time to write is really important for me. If I don't have that time, I think any artist who has a practice kind of feels this. Like if you don't do your craft for a couple of days, I'm in a funk and I don't know why, and I'll blame everybody else. And I'm like, oh, I just haven't put my butt in a chair and written. So making that time, protecting that time, kind of treating that as a sacred thing, practice, that has been really helpful. And just being outside more. I don't know, it's so simple, but just looking at treetops, they are incredible. I want to do that more. So I'm just trying to do that more. Yeah, all the other stuff, self-care, working on that. But those have been the priorities. And just, and giving people actually who I'm close with just time. I've really, this whole pandemic has illuminated how finite things can be.
Hey.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. I enjoyed them all again and lived by them as well.
Yeah. So I just, if this were a live performance, we'd be bringing the actors and the poets back on stage, and everyone to say thank you for this beautiful work. And more than that, thank you for spending time with us and helping us to really co-create this beautiful work and to catch up as humans and to heal and just grow in relationship as people and as artists.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, there's a haunting phrase from Gloria's poem. We'll get through it. After you say, "What day is it? Where am I? How do I fix myself in this new constellation of things?" And then we'll get through it. Echo many times in what in Andrita's comments as well. That's very helpful. Very, very, very helpful. So.
Well, I think that Rachel is getting ready to bring everybody back on stage.
Okay,
on stage.
On stage, yes.
And so what's going to happen next is we'll talk to the cast and the co-creators, and then I believe that we'll have comments open so that we can engage with the audience that's watching from home. Oh, this is wonderful. I see Boiselle and Andrita are having dinner with Denise Keenan, who can get back in the show.
That's right. Fabulous. Fabulous.
Yes. So hi Denise. I'm so excited. So Denise is also a former Story Days collaborator.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a list. So I'm going to just run down, and I'd like to sort of give a round of applause to the poets: Gloria Munoz, Sam Obeid,
Yay.
and Erica Sutherland. Woohoo! Yeah, thank
Indeed.
you. And to the dancers, Crystal Del Judas and Andrita Hosey. Woo!
Yay!
And also, I just want to shout out to Crystal. She was actually going to be here. I got a message just before we started that there's been an emergency. So let's keep Crystal in our thoughts and in our prayers. Next, let's go to who do I go to next? I want to thank Boiselle Hosey and Cornelio Aguilera. Yay. And yes, so Boiselle is a photographer and the deputy editor of the Tampa Bay of photography at the Tampa Bay. Right? Did I get it right? And Koki is an actor who many of you have seen in all over Tampa Bay, but also in some Your Real Stories performances over the years. And this was just a way to reconnect with everybody. When Koki came for his interview, he thought I was giving him scripts. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. This was an opportunity for us to just do a lot of different things. And photographer, videographer Priscilla Wyatt, who's new to Your Real Stories team. And we were so excited to have her on the project.
Thank you.
And Sam Bumberg, who I just located up in the top left corner. And Sam, I don't even know, Sam's title should be sort of supreme everything.
The maker of things wonderful.
Yeah. Sam's been with us for many, many years and came on this year officially, and has been doing a lot of video editing. Started with a lot of video organizing because, as many of you know, we interview people for a very long time. So Sam has managed a lot of that, and came on in a video editing and social media capacity this time. So we're just so grateful. And Rachel Harrison, who is not on camera, but because she's making everything happen. So basically, this platform that we're using is like a TV switcher. And so Rachel is running the entire switching studio.
Hey, everybody.
And, yeah, is that everybody except for you and me, Lou?
Yes.
So
I think so. We did introduce Sam Obeyed.
We did. I started with the poets.
Just want to be sure.
Yeah. So I want to open up the mic for you all, I guess, one at a time. I'm sure Rachel's instructed you. I want to, maybe I'll call people one at a time so that you know when to unmute your microphone. And I think I'm going to start with Gloria. But just if you want to talk about what this collaborative process was like for you, and Gloria, you're a great person to talk to about this, because you have participated in several of the live stories, poetry, and motion. So I'd love to hear what you thought this year.
Yeah, something I really love about this event every year is that there's sort of a spontaneity and a magic that happens when we all meet. Oftentimes it's like I've met and maybe had a coffee or just worked outside with some of the brilliant dancers that you all have in your community, and we'll meet for like an hour, and then it's like we then meet at the museum, and it's like bam, we're working together suddenly. And we trust each other as artists, which is really so lovely. Even though oftentimes we have just met, or like I said, just met for like a minute before. And I felt like that magic and spontaneity really crossed into this space, into doing this again in this different format with an amazing production team like Priscilla and Sam. Like, the magic you all do is phenomenal. To make this like a visual, I think, artifact that can live beyond this time. Like we created a time capsule, and I think that that's something that I'll have to think about and process for a while. And it's so awesome. And I think that it came together phenomenally, but also like it felt planned, but also very unplanned and very in the moment and very much like we were improvising with each other. And I didn't know that what this poem would look like until I saw it. And I saw Crystal there, the many crystals as she sort of moved and became multiple people at once. Um, that was awesome. So yeah, I'm thankful for the space and thankful for just like the community, Lilium and Jay, that you all and the whole your Real Stories team that you bring together, because it's always like a community of artists that that's on board that's on board to try things and that we can really trust, and that's phenomenal.
Yeah. I'll add to that. It's people who really believe that that diversity makes us stronger, and collaboration makes excellence.
And what a wonderful image, a time capsule. That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
Because we've collected here in this event all these various ways that really incredible artists have responded to things, what it brought out of you and what you've been able to create back. I'm going to hold on to that time capsule notion. That really captures it. That's great.
Yeah, and as you said that, Gloria, it occurred to me that as I was helping to do some of the editing, and one reason that if some of you were expecting to see certain things that didn't come on screen, it's because they are for future. We have an entire series from everything that we got in 4 days. So we'll be working with that material as we have some more time. Because we wanted to do the shoot and have it sort of fresh in our experience and our sense memory and be able to come to this event tonight. But that meant only so much time for editing. So there's so much more that we can do together. And when I actually approached all of the artists tonight, it was really with the spirit of reconnection and what we can start. So those of you that are watching from home, please see this as a beginning of relationships. This will be bringing more and more people back into the fold, and more creative brains making beautiful work together, having really good conversations as well. So who's next? Who should I put on the spot next? Does anybody want to put this? Actually, I'll put Priscilla on the spot because she's new. And Priscilla, I need to give you kudos because I will share with everybody. So I've worked with other photographers before, and this was the first time I was working with Priscilla. And I basically described the inside of my brain and how I wanted everything to be cross-pollinated, but that meant basically doing 5 different video shoots in one day. Originally, my concept that I pitched to the whole team was that we would do a giant all-day shoot, and we'd have 3 or 4 videographers running around getting B-roll and backs, sort of interviews and capturing beautiful moments. And but schedules being what they are, that didn't work. So Priscilla ended up agreeing to a shoot, and then the next day, and then the next day. So Priscilla wins the Gold Star Award for dedication and just jumping on board and saying yes.
Yes, I said yes, but I didn't know actually like what I was like saying yes to, but I think that's creativity. So like the trails thing with Crystal, like I didn't know I would do that in the edit. but you say yes and then you like run with things. And I think when the collaboration, that's a thing that happens. You say yes to other people, and beautiful things happen because of that. So
Yes, it is.
I'm super grateful that everyone was so open and trusted me, and that we all trusted each other. And I mean, it was a marathon, but it was fun. You know, marathons are exhilarating. So I'm super happy that this all came together so beautifully.
Me too. I don't know if we're all stacked up the same way, but I have Koki is next in my stack. So Koki, so just so you know, I have so many, I could make an entire podcast out of what we talked about, and I totally will talk to you again.
Yes.
Oh, I think you're muted.
Oh, he is.
Do you want to, so Koki, I can't hear you. We can come back to you. Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. I think I was playing tug of war with somebody on the mute button, but I'm just invited to be a part of invited to the party. I'm happy to be invited to the party, and if I can help support, and you know, just being able to witness the spoken word, the dance, the editing, and as you mentioned earlier, I thought I was going to be handed a script. You know, us actor folk, we don't like to talk from the top of our heads too much. That's why we like to memorize other people's words. But I was inspired. It was just yeah. But the whole thing, even this entire format, again, I'm happy to be here.
Yay. Well, and I just want to tell everyone listening that the reason, I mean, obviously I call you anytime I have any opportunity to work with you, but I called you specifically because of what you've been up to in the past 20 months. And you co-founded a new theater company, and you're working with Augusto Boal's Theater of the Oppressed. And I'd love for you to talk about that just for a little bit, if you can.
Yeah, I mean it's social justice theater. So I have to shout out to Sam that actually came and facilitated the discussion that we had for a performance that we had shortly in the summer, this past summer, called Dionysus on the Down Low, an original production, but again a very diverse cast and talking about a really important story representing the LGBTQ plus community. And again, Sam was there, and so I mean, again, sharing a space, even if it's a digital one, with Sam for me, I'm there. You know, sign me up. But a little bit further with regards to Outcast Theater Collective, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to meet everybody, but just even working with Sam and Sam and Priscilla the day of the shoot made it comfortable for me to be able to just kind of go off the top of my head, with regards to what was being requested. And of course, I'm always comfortable when I'm looking at Dr. Lillian and Jay, right? When we're in the same room, not to mention Rachel, but with regards to Outcast Theater Collective, and I didn't know that Erica was going to be on as well, so I was happy to see her work and her words. But she's actually going to be directing the next production that we'll be collaborating with out there in St. Petersburg with Studio at 620. We'll be performing in the first couple of weeks in February, doing a production of Passover. So be on the lookout for that. But again, I felt bad because all these questions, and here we were busy working during the pandemic. We turned to our craft, and if we had to do it virtually, well, we did it virtually, and that was how we survived. So I was so like happy, and I was like elated about sharing about all of that, when for other folks it was trying times, and I recognized that, and I'm glad that we were able to hear about those trying times, and then maybe as I think Gloria mentioned, this virtual I think she called it a artifact. I think it was also been mentioned as a time capsule. I think maybe later on down the road, other pieces from that can be shared, and I'm happy to be there to support you all in whatever you need.
Thanks.
Thank you, Koki. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sam, so I've got two Sams. So Sam Bumberg, do you want to go next? Is there anything? So as the person who sort of picks up all the pieces and does all Sam does B-roll. So if you don't know what that is, that's basically there's a main photographer that's shooting certain things, and then I always ask Sam to capture anything else. anything else. So it helps tie everything together, and helps tell our story of how we work together and what's happening behind the scenes. So go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, no, this was just so much fun to work with. I mean, all of these creative, amazingly intelligent people, and being able to kind of be able to collaborate with Priscilla as another videographer and editor was really awesome. So I was just, I mean, I was like a dream just being able to kind of capture everything from like behind the scenes almost, but then to be in it was really awesome. So I'm just so fortunate and happy to be part of it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I think that video editing is often a solo job. A lot of people do it by themselves, especially people that are working on smaller videos. So how was this experience any different from anything you've done in the past?
Yeah, it kind of brought me back to like my film school days where you had to kind of do group projects and use other people's, content. So that was kind of nice. But it's always interesting to edit other people's film. But I think collaboration is where makes the best product, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Sam Obey, do you want to unmute and join us?
I would love to.
Thank you for sharing your amazing poem with us and for just being on set with us for the afternoon.
Yes.
It was a fantastic experience. Thank you so much for having me there.
Yeah. So you've been on stage with us before in live events. Do you want to talk about how this was different?
Actually, I know it feels like I have done story days with y'all before, but I have never done it with y'all before. This is my first time. We've just been talking for so long about the possibility of, collaboration and doing something together.
Yes.
I've never done story. I've never had the fortune of doing it.
But you actually did open, so people that saw it, the LGBTQ Homeless Youth Project.
That project, yeah.
Sam actually opened that show by, I invited Sam to a dress rehearsal or a table read, table read of the event, of the scripts. We had all the actors come and we invited Sam, and in a day, Sam actually crafted a poem that kicked off the show. So see?
Yes, yes, absolutely. We have collaborated before. Maybe not for story days, but we have heard.
Yes.
That was such an amazing experience, like being able to, that first one, being able to listen to all the stories. And I had just been introduced to y'all, so theatrical journalism was so new to me, and just watching it all. I heard you when you told me what it was, but I think there are some things that you just have to experience to understand how it feels, right? And this was definitely the kind of work that y'all do is definitely one of those. I'm going to be super honest with you. Even when you told me about this virtual story days, I was like, I think I get it. I'm not really sure, but who cares? I'm going to go do it. I'm going to be spitting poems and talking to people. It's all good. Let's make it happen, right? And so that was a really good experience because there were young humans involved. It was all LGBTQ plus stories. It was a very public yet intimate experience. And so to be able to craft something based on these humans' experiences that was also related to my experience as a masculine Indian lesbian, right? Like that really just it felt very appropriate to be in that place at that time. I felt very privileged to be in that place at that time, being able to do that work and represent. It was such a short piece, and still the fact that it was the opening piece and it was a short piece, so you say what you have to say, and make sure every syllable matters, right? And so that was a fantastic experience. This one was also a fantastic experience, but completely different, where I wasn't reading the poem for the first time in front of a live audience, like as a spoken word poet, that doesn't happen a lot. I don't cut a lot of videos that allow me to rehearse. And I've got there's this phenomenal dancer human and a pit bull puppy enters the video at the exact time that I'm talking about pit bulls in my poem, right? You don't, and then you don't get cut and like shoot it again. And there was so much that I didn't even know was happening. In one of the interviews that y'all showed in this show, I'm sure this is the work of the amazing Sam B. There's the other camera that's coming at me from the side, and there's that one shot of this necklace and my t-shirt, and I was like, oh my god, that's such a brilliant shot. That's so much meaning, and I don't even think you know how much meaning it has. So just those wonderful surprises, even for the people who were actually part of it, is I think absolutely brilliant. And whether y'all planned that or not, you did a fantastic job of making it happen.
Excellent. Thank you.
So we have to, I'm so sorry I missed this, but Gloria said in the chat that her babysitter, actually abuela, has to head out, and she has to take care of bedtime with her baby, well, her little girl, Luna. So so I think we missed Gloria. So good night, Gloria. Good night, Luna.
Yes.
Yeah, and Luna's another Your Real Stories baby. She was actually just a few months old the last time that we had Story Days live. So, all right. So we've got some questions coming in the chat, and I can't see them, but Sam and Rachel are organizing them. So, oh, so great. So Denny Elliott says, did anyone flourish through COVID? And if so, how? And I've already typed into the chat that I know Priscilla shared a bunch of stories with us to this point. So I'm going to turn it over to Priscilla first.
Yeah, it was, I was like hoping that you wouldn't show my interview in like the interview montage, because I was like, oh no, I'll be the only one who said like COVID was like a good time for me. Oh, okay. Cornelio had a good time too. I got to like focus on all of the things, like there was like all of this space in the world, and I got to focus on all of these beautiful things, including my art, my job. Yeah, so I'm seeing other people have had a similar experience, but yeah, my what I said in my interview, and I'll just say it here, is that my job, which is like digital, being a media ninja, became more important during COVID times because we all did things like this. And so having this skill set of digital presentation, even photography, video, all this stuff, like these things that always connect us virtually, became like a very a through line for all of us. So I became very busy during COVID, and it was, yeah, I loved all of the space. I loved all of the work, actually. So, and I did have COVID. I will say that too. And having COVID was a very creepy experience. It didn't feel like a regular sort of illness. It felt like I call it like a synthetic brain flu. Like that's how it felt for me. Like it was like odd. I did not enjoy my COVID times, but it was still overall, when I look back on the last 20 months, it was a time of growth for me. And it might have just coincided with a point in my life that I was ready for that. But when COVID started happening, I mean, it was scary, and it did feel like, oh no, what's going to happen to everything? But I liked too that the world got quieter, and that it allowed me, and I guess maybe other people who are in a similar artistic position, to focus and do what they do really well. And so I probably worked more and made more in COVID than I have at like any other time in my life. And I'm definitely like an improved human over the last 20 months. So I'm not happy that COVID happened, but it was a time of flourishing a little bit for me. So thank you, Denny, for your question.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. We were fairly certain that we'd have this variety of ways that artists would respond. I mean, after all, this is what we as artists do. it's our privilege to look at the world and take it in, and then present it in a way that all kinds of people can pick it up and run with it. So it makes sense that the responses would be varied, and I think uh, listening to watching the poems and the dancing and the choreography today sort of it brings so many pieces of the story together, and I think that's what's satisfying to me right now. That all of those pieces came together, and I knew that they would. I got to tell you though, I didn't know how they would, and that's the same with all of us. We didn't really know how it would happen, but we knew that magically it would, because this is the process that we believe in. That if you ask people, in a sense, what we were doing is really asking each artist to tell us who you are now. Show us the new you, either what you would consider a new and improved you, or a new and battered you, or a new and clearer thinking you. Whatever the new you might turn out to be would contribute to our understanding just what happened in those 20 months, because there were so many things that happened. And I'll just say this last thing. One of the things that we were clear about was when you say, what happened during those 20 months, or what did the pandemic mean to you? First of all, we had all kinds of ways of describing the pandemic. For some of us, it was illness and being confined. For others of us, it was the killing of George Floyd, and the protests and the marching in the street, and the discussion about social justice, and our enthusiasm, or I guess more than enthusiasm, are the energy that we got from watching people participate in their lives in a way that maybe we hadn't seen for a while. So there was so much wrapped into that. And Jay was right on this in terms of the questioning. The pandemic meant all kinds of things. And then hearing these and watching these artistic expressions come together just brought a whole new, wonderful gift, present story to me that I am so grateful for. And I just don't know how it could have happened any other way. And we'll never be the same. We'll get through it, but we won't be the same.
And everyone said it at some point in their interview process, that we all need each other. We need connection. We need, we need our families, our friends, our artistic communities. And
yeah, we do.
That's why we're all here right now.
Yes. Wow. Thank you again.
So, I had a question. Are we wrapping up? Actually, okay. Well, I saw the panel, so I was like, "Oh, are we done?" No one told me. I actually had a question for Sam Obeid, because there was something I was trying to edit and put in the show, and I just didn't have time. And it was actually it was about your experience during COVID, actually. Sorry, I had lost my train of thought. Is there anything? So I'll just change the question. So there were a number of questions that we actually asked you all, and so if anyone is listening, we're going to actually be sharing the questionnaire with other people. But that didn't even make it into tonight's show. So this is the beginning of more inquiry, more questions, just sort of like every Your Real Stories project. Over the years, when people come to an event, they often pull us aside afterwards and say, "Oh, I have a story." So our intention is that this will spark more people to want to come and
Oh, right.
just have these conversations with us and with each other. So I'm going to just throw out some of the questions in case anybody didn't get to answer it on video or on video here in this format. How have you changed in the last 20 months? Did anybody not get to see themselves answer that? Or have you? Has anyone changed during the last 20 months, and how?
Oh.
I'm
going to say so. Koki's nodding his head.
Yeah.
So Koki, say something about that. I see you. I see you. Say so.
The only other time that we hear Rachel's voice, and it's to point me out, right? No, and I recognize, being the guy in the room, and I just want to defer, but I also was, all right, full disclosure, kind of halfway looking for my cheat sheet, because I found the questionnaire so intriguing. I think Dr. Lillian is correct. I think those questions posed were spot on. But off the top of my head, because sometimes that's what us actors have to do. But no, seriously, how COVID sort of changed me. And again, I somewhat feel like I'm kind of in Priscilla's corner, where it was and it was also the other individual. You'll have to, Mr. Boisel. I think he kind of put it the same way. So, all right, let me explain what all this rambling is about. But with regards to Priscilla's corner about flourishing, about taking an opportunity for when things are kind of down and kind of sort of grabbing it, I kind of am in that corner, right? But then with what Mr. Boisel said was that when all of this was going around, he was almost not strongest. I think he said he was weak, but he was focused. And I thought that was interesting. I think I could also recognize his testimony with regards to that, because everything shuts down, and I guess I had a little bit more time to meditate. But in that meditation, I think I was able to say and really hone in on what I value most. You saw a little bit of it in my interview when I was talking about my self-care was watching the National Theater. And then, so then using my craft to inspire myself to continue to move forward and overcome whatever obstacles, even if it was that we couldn't be present physically with one another, in order to continue the work, which I'm happy to say we did really well with, and we're continuing to do with the organization I'm working with as Outcast Theater Collective. Shout out to all the outcasts. And that's how I would answer the question.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, that is great.
I don't see any other questions from the audience. So if any, I think we could probably wrap up. So knowing that, does anybody have anything that they want to contribute or say before we sign off for the evening? Okay. Yeah, then anyone in the audience that's listening, please. Oh, I'm hearing from Boisel and Andrita. Thank you, Boisel and Andrita. We love you. Thanks for being a part of this and coming and spending time with us. And everybody, keep an eye out for on the Your Real Stories page. We're going to be. You may have noticed that we're pumping up Instagram, so we're going to try to keep that going. You'll be able to. We have a YouTube presence. We have this YouTube channel, so you can follow us. And we'll be sharing more stories this way as long as it's now that we've been doing it. It's safe. It's provides more accessibility for some folks, and so just keep watching for us on all of the platforms and watching. Just recognize that this is a beginning for us to collaborate with these phenomenal humans that you see on your screen, and the phenomenal humans who have already, who actually are not with us right now, or who have already departed for the evening and that were on the screen earlier tonight. And shout out, I just realized I forgot to shout out to Alexander Jones when I thanked the studio at 620. That was actually because of Alexander Jones, who was we were looking to collaborate. Yes, so we'll be collaborating in the future. But thank you to Alexander and Bob Devin Jones and the studio at 620, Marcus and Erica, and everybody that allowed us to use that dance space. And again, I just want to thank Crystal. I'm really sorry that Crystal isn't able to be here, and just thank her for her phenomenal work as well, and Andrita and everyone else. Thank you all again. Can't wait to work with you again in the future.